And it brings me to a point of thinking and wondering, as all these things happen and news travel fast through social media, what lessons do we draw from it? Number one, power belongs to the people. And every leader in every country of whatever capacity or rank must learn that power belongs to the people. And when people donate this power to you so that you can make some policies or decisions on their behalf, it doesn't mean you have to trample over them and do what you want at their expense. In Nigeria today, people are protesting with concerns of high cost of living and bad governance. And seemingly, the government is really not doing enough to address the concerns that they have. The same thing led to protests in Kenya, and the eventuality of it was not really good, even though it ended up bringing some changes, but at the expense of a number of people losing their lives. It doesn't have to come to that. It's just a simple thing. Those in position of authority should listen to those they lead, because those are their employers. And this is the same thing that has happened in Bangladesh. The protest didn't just break out overnight. It is something that has been going on for quite some time. People have been talking about it. People have been complaining about it. And when those in power would just give them a listening ear and address the concerns that they have, then we would not come to a point where a prime minister has to run for her life. We will not come to a point where people have to invade the palace, where hundreds of people in Bangladesh have been killed. The number of injuries uncountable. We would not come to that point when those in authority would just listen to those who have put them in power. It is a very sensitive thing that I keep on repeating. In my previous video, I addressed the things that we learn from President Joe Biden stepping out of the race. And apparently, one of the things that I said that we learn is that the government has to listen to those it leads and serve the interests of those it leads. And it is the very case for every African leader. Listen to those you lead. When you fail to listen, the cases such as the scenarios witnessed in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh may just occur. So listening is very key. Listening and addressing these concerns. You cannot tell me that 10 million people are all crazy to demand for the same thing. And when people are affected by the very things that are essential for their livelihoods, they will have to go out and raise these concerns. They say a hungry man is an angry man. And so when the government fails to give a listening ear to these concerns, the rage in people continue growing. The discontent continues to grow. And as it builds up and piles up, eventually it explodes, and not in a very good way. The second point is that the use of the military, the police, and government machinery will not always work. Power is transient. And those of you who have read this book, The Caucasian Chalk Circle, and in this book, written by Bertolt Brecht, there is a poem there given by the singer, who is like the narrator in that play. And in that poem he says, "O blindness of the great, They go their way like gods, great over bent backs, sure of higher feasts, trusting in the power which has lasted so long. But long is not forever, or change from age to age, thou hope of the people. Long is not forever. Military power, the use of police and government machinery will not always save you. The outgoing PM had all this machinery at her disposal. The military, the police, and all government machinery at her disposal. But it didn't work. It did come to save her. And sometimes, as have been seen in coups, they sometimes turn against you. And therefore, governments in Africa, especially authoritarian regimes, have to acknowledge and know that, one, it won't last forever, and two, it will not always come to save you. And therefore, once you're in power, you have to do that which you are elected to do. You have to do the job you are elected for. Political positions in Africa have become a tool for accumulating wealth, which is not the reason why people should be in such offices in the first place. Those who are believers in Christianity, you know, Christ says that whoever wants to be great must learn to serve. And he showed that example by washing the feet of his disciples. And anyone coming into leadership should have that heart of service to the people they lead. Listen to them, address their issues, communicate with them, make them understand if things are not okay. Africa today is facing a major problem of death distress and risks ranging from high risk to medium risk of death distress. And the risks involved with death distress is one of the causes of the punitive measures that most governments are putting in place in order to address the debt issue. But on the other hand, they are adversely and severely impacting the livelihoods of their citizens. And therefore, communication between those in authority and those who are being led, the citizens, must be effective and must be done in a proper way that makes them understand, why do we need to do this? And then what is the alternative of not doing this? But when people in authority just come throwing words at those they lead without taking into account how hard life is for these people to make ends meet, then the anger, the tension, the agony, it spirals and eventually escalates and just bursts into scenarios such as the ones witnessed in Bangladesh. Finally, my final point is Africans, and this I'm talking about those who lead, those who are in authority, must learn to lead with humility. We have seen a lot of leaders across several African countries. Once they come into power, they start showing off their opulence to citizens who are struggling to make ends meet. Yeah, you know, you elect a leader, he goes into office, and in a few days, in a few months, he comes back showing you the expensive cars, the expensive clothing, the expensive jewelry. And at that time, the citizens who elected them cannot even afford a meal, are living in dehumanizing conditions, in dehumanizing settlements. But they come showing their opulence, they come showing their wealth. It's like they are laughing back at the people. And while it's okay for someone to maybe show off whatever they own, it is not okay if you're leading people to come laugh in their faces. You're not addressing their problems, but you are showing them how the power they have given you, you have used it for your own benefit rather than benefiting them. And then when they address their issues, you can only talk back at them, tell them how primitive they are, and such like things. Now, what happened in Bangladesh when the students were protesting? The government came out to call them traitors. Instead of listening to the issues they are raising, find a solution now to address those issues, talk to them, try to explain things. They were called traitors. And things continued escalating, spiraling to a level that should not have been the case in the first place. And therefore, people in authority, people in leadership, have to learn to lead with humility. Lead with humility. And that will help us as Africans avoid some of these escalations that we see in the other parts of the world. It is not very far from us. We are not immune to it. And therefore, when we don't tread with caution, when we don't do the right thing, we might find ourselves there. But going forward, it is our responsibility to speak about these issues. It is our responsibility to ensure that we do not get to that point. Things can be addressed in a civilized manner, and those in authority should do their part and do their bit. Thanks for watching. Please comment on the comment section. Tell me what you learned as an African, and if you're not African, from whatever country you come from, tell me what you learn about the occurrences in Bangladesh. What do you pick from it, and what should we learn from it going forward? Remember to like and subscribe to the channel so that we continue bringing similar content to you. So long, everybody.